How do you write a conclusion for a research paper? I'm going to be talking about that in this video. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Maslock. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor for to help you out as much as I possibly can. So every research paper that has ever been written generally has a very similar conclusion, and there's a lot of patterns that you see with conclusions. I've read thousands and thousands and thousands of research papers at this moment. I'm on a review for research papers. I've looked at graduate student research papers, my own research papers. They all have a basic pattern in terms of what they're doing. So you really have to think about what that actually looks like when you write a research paper and how you actually do it. So here is the basic structure in terms of writing a research paper. And so what you're trying to do is basically give a synopsis for the entire paper that you've done, right? So generally it begins very simply with you're restating the research question that you actually have. So whatever that question is, and then you basically state whether it was solved or answered or some sort of way like that. And you don't have to explicitly write that research question, but you might if you want to. And then all you have to do is state whether it's answered. You can write it in such a way that you're talking about, in this paper we did this, and we found this, right? So that's what you're really thinking about. And then the second thing that's important, right after that, you might state, or maybe before that, you might state what the theory or idea of why you actually thought about this, why you're actually looking at this, right? So what is the theory that you're using? So it might be that you're using agency theory, for example, or you might be using, ideal gas law, for example. Whatever it is that you're looking at, you state, we use this theory to investigate this research question. And then from there, you're going to describe the findings that you actually have. And generally, you might only have one or two findings, just the major findings, whatever that thing is. And the major findings are the thing that you find interesting or you think somebody else is going to find interesting. So that's only going to be one sentence, really. It's very short, very succinct. And then what you want to talk about is, in one sentence, another sentence after that is, what is the big picture that researchers are going to take away from this paper? So how can other people find it helpful that they actually read this paper, right? So you're really talking about the basics of what you're looking at and why you think it's actually interesting. Why is it interesting, right? Like that's going to be the really key thing in terms of selling your paper. And then the last thing is kind of like, what is the big idea in terms of, what you're going to do and how is it going to sort of tie up different loose ends for future research? Or, another thing that's interesting that you tend to do is leave kind of like a puzzle at the end so that other people go and take that research paper and say, hey, I'm going to try to solve this puzzle, right? Or they're going to say that, that this is kind of, you basically want it to be like endless research, right? Like other people are going to pick this thing up and say, I'm going to keep working on it and keep working on it. You want to keep it kind of big enough so that it becomes this like endless puzzle that everybody can work on it, and then it becomes kind of like a centerpiece for everybody else's research paper to work on or to sort of build on. And that's the basic thing, right? Like that is the basic structure of a conclusion. It's usually really structured, and it really gives you a synopsis of a research paper. So that's what you're looking for throughout a research paper. If you didn't know, there's always, it's coming back, is lots of redundancy that happens in a research paper, where you're kind of restating, restating over and over and over again. And so don't be afraid to restate things. That is actually good, and that sort of is impactful often, and it allows you to come back to what you're actually studying. And it keeps it nice and concise, and everybody understands what you are talking about. So that's it. Really simple, and it's going to work every single time. So that's how you actually write a conclusion for a research paper that's going to be, impactful. It's going to help you out, and hopefully this works for high school students to professors. So with that, give me a thumbs up, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care, and have a wonderful day.